Good morning. The book I have chosen for award winner of my choice is This Land Is Our Land, A History of American Immigration by Linda Barrett Osborne. Fascinating book for me. One of the reasons I chose it is I'm actually an immigrant myself. Of course, I came in more modern times, so the stories of Ellis Island and steerage really didn't apply to me. But I came over in 1990 from England, and I went through the immigration process. So when I was teaching high school students, really enjoyed the immigration unit. So I chose this book. It was a ALL award winner for nonfiction. So it's a nonfiction book about immigration. Discusses two different ideas or concepts: government policies and how they've impacted immigration, going all the way through to the 1700s with the original colonies up to the 21st century and the controversy today about illegal immigration, something that always brought up interesting debate amongst high schoolers when I was teaching freshmen in high school. And then also it talks a lot about the impact of immigration and those policies on regular people. One of the things I found really neat in the book, and I'll show it to you, is throughout the book it used eyewitness accounts. And I hope you can see this, but what it did is the book uses different font and different text for eyewitness accounts. And then they match up with the illustrations, which I'll talk about here in just a second. But throughout the book, there are eyewitness accounts. And actually, one of the things I saw was there's an eyewitness account of how Jewish immigrants were treated in Battery Park in 1882. Very similar to sometimes how immigrants are treated today. They're taking our jobs. Why won't they speak English? And such like. So that's a theme throughout the book, really how things haven't changed. There's a lot of controversy today about immigration, but the same questions have been answered now for several hundred years. The book is set up chronologically, so it starts with the colonies and ends with the 21st century, especially with illegal immigration and the Hispanics especially. However, each chapter is then set up with basically geographical concept. So Western European immigration, Southeastern Europe, Asian, concentrating on the Chinese and then the Japanese, Latin American, and then the Hispanics. But again, I found the best part of the book was really how it took questions that are asked today, and they've been asked throughout the history of immigration. And then I thoroughly enjoyed the eyewitness accounts, which I've already showed you. The illustrations throughout the book are two types. Number one, they're paintings or drawings, or original photographs, which I found that students really, really like. Talked about that in a previous unit, like the Great Depression picture. So one thing I've done before in class. So this is a picture again of Jewish immigrants in Ellis Island a couple hundred years ago. And then this is a picture of Hispanic immigrants in the 21st century. So interesting topic of conversation would be, hey, is there much difference between the pictures? Dress, culture, people walking, and such like. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. Like I said earlier, I'm an immigrant myself, which is one of the reasons I chose this book. When I taught immigration in class, I would tell them my story. I had to have a medical exam, show financial viability, much like immigrants had to do at Ellis Island. My activity is we started project-based learning when I was teaching just a couple of years ago. So I used immigration. My students had to actually find an immigrant to interview. So I was an example, but then they had to go find somebody else, priest, coach, another teacher, relative. And then just eyewitness accounts of what it was like, how they came over, why they came over, so the push and pull factors. Then also there's lots of Ellis Island websites. I posted them on my Reflection Interactive, so you can look at the different ports of call. So all in all, a thoroughly interesting book for me, and a topic that I find a lot of students today find very interesting. Thanks.